Alright, welcome everybody. Welcome to Tauzy Presents. Chapter 6 of the DMG, Cosmology, Part 2. There might even be a Part 3 because this is my favorite chapter so far, so I'm going to take my time while we do it. Let me cut to the DMG, but first I'm going to make some announcements. I'm back from vacation. I had a lovely time in Seagrove. I highly recommend it. If you get the chance to go to the Panhandle of Florida, go check out the beaches there. They're a badass. This month's going to be this month is completely full of DM Tauzy stuff. We are possibly doing 5 episodes of Azure Sky Live. So that is happening on Monday the 2nd, the 9th, the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th. I think we got Kelly coming in tomorrow. Got to make sure with her. And then we'll have a new guest star. And then Brad is coming in on the 30th. If you know Brad, he is always a big supporter of the channel. That's Taco Gods. So he'll be coming in on Monday the 30th. So that'll be pretty cool. What else? We got Tomb of Annihilation also happening on the 5th, the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th. That's my Thursday crew of Tomb of Annihilation. That's still going. They are playing inside the titular tomb. So that is happening. Thank you for the sub, Jeremy. Appreciate that. What else we got? Excellent, thank you. What else we got? Oh, Tricks of the Trade is tonight, obviously. So we're not doing that on the 15th. I'm not on Father's Day. We're doing Tricks of the Trade tonight because I couldn't help it. I wanted to do it, and I wanted to get back into the swing of things. No, that means there's going to be no PvP this month. We're taking a break and then jumping back into PvP in July. I just want to do a bunch of Azure Sky if we can. So rock it out. Let's do that. Also, we are getting prepared to do TwitchCon. It's a ways away, but that's going to be my birthday weekend in October. October 17th through 19th is TwitchCon in San Diego. If you'd like to join, please come join. We're going to have a whole bunch of people, hopefully, over there. I'm going to try and I'm trying to do a whole lot. I'm going to try to have a table set up with a whole bunch of stuff, maybe even like a Coliseum. And then we'll play while we're streaming at TwitchCon. That'd be super awesome. I'd like to go the full 9 yards if possible, but we'll see. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome. All right, let me check a couple things. And let's get started into Chapter 6 of Cosmology. I'm going to zoom in because I think that helps. All right, let me try this. Okay, interesting. The music stayed low. It probably re-upped itself and stayed low. Let me know how the music mix is right now while we're looking at Chapter 6. Thank you for the subs, everybody. Appreciate that. We're on a hype train right now, so if you want to sub, keep it going. It'd be awesome. Okay. First thing I want to say for Chapter 6, because we talked about the planes, planar travel, planar adventuring, and then we went to the tour of the multiverse. We're gonna still be in the tour of the multiverse because they did a lot of work here, which I'm very impressed with. So we're gonna keep talking about this. I just finished up the Abyss last time in part 1, so we talked about layer 1, layers 45 through 47. I forgot to say this. Like, the Abyss is like, it's supposed to be chaos. It's super chaotic evil. So don't feel restrained by all these like numbered layers. It literally says so in the Abyss itself. Like it says, the layers of the Abyss are numbered based on the sequence of their discovery and cataloged by explorers from Sigil. So that doesn't mean that these have to be the numbers. That's just like someone thinking of numbers for the Abyss and they're putting them down. If you find any gaps here, which there are tons, because there's 666 layers, feel free to make your own layers. Do your own thing. It's supposed to be chaos incarnate, so have your own fun with the Abyss. Alright, let's keep going. We finished with Abyss Adventures, which is pretty rad. Look at this picture. Look at this. I love it. So that's like the demon web coming out, and the detritus of the plains is tangled in the demon web pits. That's so rad. It just catches everything from different worlds. There's a castle there, a ship, a village, and then you got horrible spider monstrosities with, looks to be some sort of drider with spiders all over it. Tons of spiders. Love it. And then we go to someplace completely different. Archeron. Well, not completely different. Archeron is made of immense iron blocks whose metallic surfaces ring beneath the marching feet of endless armies. These blocks drift through an airy void, sometimes colliding with a fearsome clang, crushing all between them, and sending shudders through the plain. Archeron is 4 layers. Jeremy says, "Oh, I like that plot idea. You have to go to the theme web to find something that fell out of the world." Yeah, and they talk about that at the end of the Abyss. Like, the Abyss is so chaotic and so gnarly that it jumps to other places. So it can absolutely, literally pull you in. The demon webs can literally pull you in. Back to Archeron. Archeron has 4 layers, with the largest blocks gravitating to the top layer. Gravitating to the top. Some scholars have theorized that the crashing blocks of the upper layers are eventually broken down to smaller chunks of matter that sink to the lower layers. The truth is actually the opposite. Oh, I love when they do that. Although, that's great. And they're like, here's the truth of it. The tiny shards of Ocanthus, the lowest layer, break off from an icy mire in its deepest recesses and are gradually assembled and organized, perhaps under the influence of nearby Mechanus, into the perfect cubes of Attalus. Whoa. The nature of Archeron instills bloodlust in those who visit the plane. Oh, environmental effects. So we talked about this. So bloodlust, if you hover over it, let me see if that works. Oh, Archeronian bloodlust. You guys seeing this? I don't know if you are. Let's see. The plane of Archeron rewards the creature for harming other creatures by imbuing it with the strength to keep fighting. While in Archeron or a region under its influence, a creature gains temporary hit points equal to half its hit point maximum whenever it reduces another creature to 0 hit points. Very cool. Okay, cool. That's just a bloodlust from this area. Love it. Layers of Archeron. Let's see. Avalis. Spirit soldiers wage endless wars across debris-strewn battlefields. Thuldanan. Pitted hollow cubes are filled with the cast-off machinery of war. Tentabilus? Jagged blocks tumble into darkness, holding frozen memories sapped by the river Styx and crystallized into fleeting images. Whoa, dude. Ocanthus. Maelstroms of razor-sharp debris swirl above a mire of black ice. I have yet to touch Archeron, really, in all of my DMing, so a lot of this is new. Or at least I haven't seen this kind of specificity with Archeron. Archeron is a plane of enforced order, where rigid conformity leads to crushed spirit and broken hopes. Spirits here can't conceive of anyone refusing to obey the will of their commanders. They are dedicated soldiers, forever lacking a cause. A journey into Archeron is a confrontation with the bleak nihilism of unending conflict, the harsh reality of authoritarian rule, and the uncaring pressures of social conformity. It's also an opportunity for characters to grapple with the question of what they are fighting for, among armies that have forgotten how to even ask that question. Oh man. On a more literal level, an adventure in Archeron can involve preventing a villain from scavenging Thuldanan for some new horror of warfare to be unleashed on the battlefield. Or it might require retrieving a secret from the imprisoned thoughts or memories found in the blocks of Tintabilis. Rad. And then we go to someplace now entirely different. Arborea. Arborea. Arborea is a plain of extremes, stupendously craggy mountains, unbelievably deep gorges, forests of monstrously huge trees, and vast stretches of wheat fields, orchards, and arbors. Wild-hearted nature spirits dwell in every glade and stream, brooking no infringement. Travelers must tread lightly. The air of Arborea seems charged with excitement. Sudden squalls brew up out of nowhere, beating the tree-lined paths with heavy winds. The storms pass within minutes and leave behind warm arcs of sunlight filtering through the forest canopy. Music always seems to be playing in the distance. Sometimes it originates from groups of elf musicians, but just as often the faint tune is merely the wind curling through the boles of the great trees. Boy, this is some good writing. I mean, it's really good. I'm enjoying it. I gotta take note of this. Okay, we got layers of Arbrea. Oh, we got new death emotes. Thank you, Sensei, for showing our death emotes. Yeah. We have Arvindor, of course. Arvindor is elf heaven. Towering trees, colorful wildflowers, abundant grain, and delicious fruit create a lush environment. Aqualore, an eternal ocean fed by the river Oceanus, is home to teeming sea life and mighty storms. And Mithardir, a desert of white sand, is abandoned by whatever powers once lived there. Whoa! I've never heard of Mithardir. A desert of white sand is abandoned by whatever powers once lived there. Alright, Arborea adventures. Arborea is larger-than-life place of violent moods and deep affections, of whim backed by steel, and of passions that blaze brightly until they burn out. Its good-natured inhabitants are dedicated to fighting evil, but their reckless emotions sometimes break free with devastating consequences. Rage is as common and honored as joy in Arborea. An adventure in Arborea can be an opportunity for characters to discover who they are when masks fall away and the honesty of unfettered emotion is revealed. The inhabitants of the plane are accustomed to this emotional honesty. Lifelong friends might share a laugh over food and wine, cross blades over a mutual lover, and write songs celebrating each other's courage and integrity, all in a single evening. For those who aren't accustomed to this candor, though, it can lead to hurt feelings and lingering resentment. Creatures that visit Arborea and then leave sometimes experience a desperate desire to return, a yearning so intense that it can interfere with day-to-day life. What secrets lie buried in the sands of Mithardir? What? I have to look this up. I need to know more. An expedition might involve investigating whatever gods or celestials once inhabited the Silver Desert or find some knowledge they possessed. Whoa, dude. It's a god desert. Arcadia. Arcadia thrives with orchards of perfectly lined trees, rulers' straight streams, orderly fields, immaculate roads, and cities laid out in geometrically pleasing shapes. The mountains bear no trace of erosion. That's cool. I mean, that's just rad. Night and day are determined by an orb that floats in the sky above both of Arcadia's layers. Half the orb radiates sunlight and brings about the day. The other half sheds moonlight and brings on the starry night. The orb rotates evenly without fail, spreading day and night across the entire plane. The weather in Arcadia is governed by 4 allied demigods called the Storm Kings. The Cloud King, the Wind Queen, the Lightning King, and the Rain Queen. Each one lives in a castle surrounded by the type of weather that the ruler controls. Arcadia is another place that, like, I've read about it, but I've never put anything inside of Arcadia. Arcadia is suffused with vigorous life energy that bestows great vitality. Okay, how does this one work? Here's a new environmental effect. Arcadian vitality. On the plane of Arcadia, in the regions where its influence is felt, creatures benefit from supernatural vitality, which grants them immunity to the frightened and poison conditions. Okay, alright. Sucks to be a poisonous creature in Arcadia. Maybe they just don't have them. The layers of Arcadia. Abellio. Everything in these fields of plenty is dedicated to the good of all. Okay. Buxenos. Buxenos? Buxenos. Military forces gather their strength amid pleasant valleys and orchards to reclaim the lost layer of Menausis, now part of Mechanus. Whoa! That's rad. That's super rad. They're like fighting another plane, but not one you would think of for Arcadia. They're fighting the neutral plane of Mechanus. That's cool. I guess so, yeah, you still do take poison damage, but you just feel super cool about it. Everything on Arcadia Adventures, everything on Arcadia works towards the common good and a flawless existence. Here, purity is eternal, and nothing intrudes on harmony. Individuality is subsumed to peaceful life and community, and military might can be brought to bear on those who disrupt that peace. An adventure in Arcadia can be an opportunity to explore the tension between individual freedom and societal responsibility for the common good. Even lawfully inclined adventurers rarely conform neatly to social expectations, and a visit to this plane can highlight that conflict. The astral plane. Well, here we go. Lots of things happening in the astral plane. I've put perhaps too much in the astral plane. The astral plane is a realm of thought and dream, where visitors travel as disembodied souls to reach the outer planes. It is a great silvery sea, the same above and below, with swirling wisps of white and gray streaking among motes of light, the distant stars of far-flung wild space systems. Most of the astral sea is a vast, empty expanse. Visitors occasionally stumble upon the petrified corpse of a dead god or other chunks of rock drifting forever in the silvery void. Much more commonplace are color pools, magical pools of colored light that flicker like radiant spinning coins. Ow. That's new to me. I never heard of spinning magical pools just hanging out in astral space. Creatures in the astral plane don't age or suffer from hunger or thirst. For this reason, creatures that live on the astral plane, such as Githyanki, establish outposts on other planes, often in the material plane, so their children can grow to maturity. I never thought about that. Yeah, you kind of have to leave, don't you? A traveler in the astral plane can move by simply thinking about moving, but distance has little meaning. In combat, though, a creature has a fly speed equal to 5 times its intelligence score and can hover. Yes. I just recently did this. I was playing in a game, and I played... I'm a rogue in another game, and my intelligence is pretty high for, not having to cast. I think it was... What was it? I'm still a little jet lagged. 14, so 14 times 5 is... I can't think right now. Do the math. 70. My 5 speed was 70. Just as movement is accomplished by the power of thought, all that is required to find one's destination is to think about it. As long as the destination is somewhere in the astral plane, such as the nearest Githyanki outpost, the nearest color pool leading to the abyss. Oh, the color pools are teleportation pools sometimes, I guess. That's rad. Or the wild space system of realm space. Thinking about a place makes a creature aware of the most direct route to that location. The creature doesn't know how long the journey will take or how perilous it will be, just which direction to go in. The DM decides how long it takes to get to the desired destination. A trek to a specific location, a particular wild space system, or an astral outpost, for example, might take 46 days. For more general locations such as a color pool leading to a specified plane, the journey might take 1d4 times 10 hours. All in all, how they're making it look like is that the astral plane really is a good place to navigate. At least it really is a good transitory plane, because you will get where you want to be eventually. Dead gods. The astral plane is where the petrified remains of dead gods end up. Gods who were slain by more powerful entities or who lost all their mortal worshippers and perished as a result. A dead god looks like a gigantic, nondescript stone statue that bears little resemblance to the divine entity it once was. Githyanki, mind flayers, and other residents of the astral plane sometimes turn these drifting hulks into outposts and cities, many of which are hollowed out beneath the surface. The Githyanki city of Tu Naraf is perhaps the most infamous such place. I love Tu Naraf. It is something I've read about a lot. There's a lot of cool imageries of Tu Naraf. I mean, in BG3, there's a dead god in BG3. Go play BG3. I think it's the best video game of all time. And there is a dead god inside of it. And the way you move about the astral plane is just super rad. A cool way to run a planar mystery, you need the right things to think of to find the direction to the place. That is very rad. Yeah. Color pools. Okay, what are color pools? They're all gateways. Okay, gateways leading from the astral plane to other planes appear as two-dimensional pools of rippling colors. 1d6 times 10 feet in diameter. Like, they could be pretty big. Color, as with everything in the astral plane. Oh, God. I'm so jet lagged. It won't leave me. As a matter of metaphor, since these portals are perceived by the astral self and not by physical eyes, their colors are understood rather than seen. Traveling to another plane requires locating a color pool that leads to the desired plane. These gateways can be identified by color as shown on the astral colors pool table. Oh my god! They just did it. This is unnecessary. You don't need... It's super rad, but you don't need this. Gehenna is russet, Mount Celestia gold, Nine Hells ruby. It all makes sense. It's good. Outlands is leather brown. Mm-hmm. Very rad. I mean, that's helpful if you need to. That's, and you can use this pool color to kind of help you out with what the designers think these planes are, to give you like literally a color vibe of the plane. Ysgard Indigo, cool. Wild space. Bobbing in the astral plane like corks in an ocean are vast, airless expanses called wild space systems. Be careful what color pound you pull. It's gross. Gross. Bobbing the astral plane like corks on an ocean are vast, airless spaces called wild space systems. In these systems, the astral plane overlaps with the material plane, and stars and planets in the material plane are accessible from the astral plane. Every world in the material plane is situated in a wild space system. As an astral traveler approaches the wild space system, oh, they're gonna show you. Oh, there it is. There's Tunaroth. Oh my god! Anyway. As an astral traveler approaches a wild space system, the silver fog of the astral plane gradually thins until it falls away in wild space. Then the sun of the wild space system comes into view, often millions of miles away, along with colorful gas clouds, planets, moons, and other cosmic bodies. A wild space system teems with space-dwelling life forms, including spores, plankton, and larger creatures that resemble fish and aquatic mammals. Creatures and objects in wild space age normally and exist on both the astral plane and materials plane simultaneously. This overlap enables creatures to use spells such as teleport to travel from wild space to a nearby world, or vice versa. A creature or ship traveling from one wild space system to another must cross the astral plane, unless it has some other magical means of traveling from one world to another. This is just kind of explaining how... It's just making it like... Wild space is different than outer space, as it is. It's much more magical. Think of it as like bubbles, and then... the real worlds, or the real planes have... are in these air bubbles, gigantic or small as they may be, and in between that is kind of like this fluid, astral plane-ish place. Think like giant aquariums that kind of link the material systems to each other. Okay, this is super rad. Look at this. I wish I had my Spelljamming book with me. I could identify this particular ship right here. But these are all the buildings that are strapped to the flayed out creature that once was the dead god these Githyanki worshipped. Or maybe didn't worship. I think Tunaroth is they just found it. They happened upon it and they decided to build on this dead god. But like, his eyes have chains bored into them, where there's some sort of, head council castle up top there. It's very rad. A spelljamming wasp ship. It's a wasp ship. Approaches the Githyanki city of Tunaroth. Very cool. Psychic wind. A psychic wind is a storm of thought that batters travelers' minds rather than their bodies. The storm is made of lost memories, forgotten ideas, and subconscious fears that went astray in the astral plane and conglomerated into this powerful force. A psychic wind is first sensed as a rapid darkening of the silver-gray sky. After 1d4 minutes, the area becomes as dark as a moonless night. As the sky darkens, the traveler feels buffeting and shaking, as if the plane were rebelling against the storm. As quickly as it comes, the psychic wind passes, and the sky returns to normal in 1 minute. A group of travelers journeying together is subjected to one location effect determined by consulting the psychic wind location effects table. Okay. Whoa. Cool. 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 these? More? Oh, location effects. Got it. And then the actual effects. Okay. Ooh, these are nasty. Nasty psychic damage. The worst one being you have the unconscious condition for 5 hours. The effect of you ends if you take damage or another creature takes an action to shake you awake. Whoa. I don't know. 40-10 psychic damage might be worse than that. Astral Plane Adventures. Characters most often visit the astral plane as a way of getting somewhere else, either to one of the outer planes or to different worlds of the material plane via wild space. En route, they might encounter fellow travelers such as Celestials, Fiends, Sladai, Modrons, or Githyanki. As a realm of thought, memory, and dream, the astral plane can also be an adventure destination. Characters might try to plumb the crystallized thoughts of dead gods. Whoa! Or sift information from the torrent of a psychic wind. You're looking for a psychic wind to get, like, some memories? Or they could face astral manifestations of their own memories, fears, and dreams. That's probably the best one. Make it about them. That's the best one. Beastlands. Okay. Okay, now for something completely different. All these are very, very different. Mindstorm Chasing. Yeah. The Beastlands is a plane of nature unbound, of forests ranging from moss-hung mangroves to snow-laden pines, of thick jungles where the branches are woven so tight that no light penetrates, of vast plains where grains and wildflowers wave in the wind with vibrant life. The plane embodies nature's wildness and beauty. It's true nature, true neutral, but it also speaks to the animal within all living creatures, but not necessarily in a fierce, predatory way, but with respect to the physical substance and fundamental needs. Neutral good, sorry. Beastlands is neutral good, I think. The spirits of the dead on the Beastlands typically take animal forms or part animal forms, such as centaurs. Among the greatest inhabitants of this plane are the primal spirits called Animal Lords. Whenever a visitor slays a beast native to the plane, the slayer must succeed on a DC 10 charisma saving throw or shapeshift into the type of beast that was slain? What? The creature's game statistics are replaced by the beast's stat block. You become what you kill? But the creature retains its alignment, personality, creature type, intelligence score, and ability to speak. At the end of each long rest, you repeat the save. After 3 fails, it's permanent, and you need to remove curse. Whoa. That's kind of rad. Okay, the layers of the Beastlands. Krigala. The river Oceanus is a strong torrent, flowing through the wilderness of eternal summer noon. Brooks. A red sun hovers forever on the horizon as mists and streams roil through the trees in eternal twilight. Karasuthra. A pale moon provides the only light in this wilderness of eternal night. Cool. Beastland Adventures. Beastlands embody wild, beautiful nature and the vibrant power of life thriving in the natural world. Visitors to the plane feel invigorated and more vital, their minds more alert, their reflexes sharpened, and their strides quickened. Hunger pangs are acute, but food and drink taste better than ever before. Sleep is always deep and restful, and sleepers always awake and alert. That's very specific, and I love that. Adventurers in the Beastlands might explore the ways that good philosophies, while purporting to value life, actually devalue the physical nature of life in favor of abstract concepts of law and ethics. Characters might end up in conflict with those who dismiss animals as inferior and reverent forms of life. The Beastlands is PETA! It's PETA, y'all! Be nice to the deer. If you kill the deer, you become the deer. Bitopia. Bitopia is another one that, I read a lot about it, but I've never done Bitopia. I've had some things in the Beastlands. Definitely had a lot of Astral Plane. But Arcadia... Bitopia, haven't done a lot here. Alright, Bitopia. The surfaces of Bitopia's 2 layers face each other like the covers of a closed book. Looking up from Dothion, the top layer of the plane, a traveler can see Shurak, its other layer, about a mile overhead. So, okay. Both layers are idealized worlds that reflect the plane's philosophy of personal achievement alongside social interdependence. Dothion, farms nestled among well-tamed woods, are hubs of pastoral activity and individual industry. Shurak. Small communities thrive around quarries and mills amid rough country and harsh weather. Interesting. Bitopia Adventures. Bytopia is a heaven of productive work, the satisfaction of a job well done. The goodness flowing through the plane creates feelings of goodwill and happiness in creatures dwelling there. While Dothion rewards those who seek a quiet life, Shurok is the paradise for those who continually challenge and better themselves. The two layers of Bytopia are often referred to as the twin paradises, and it's said that every action carried out on one layer has repercussions on the other, an equal and opposite reaction, though a more metaphorical than physical one. An adventure in Bytopia might challenge characters to recognize the impact their actions have on the world by witnessing the mirrored reactions to the deeds on the opposite layer. I mean, that's cool. That is creating this right here. This paragraph here is creating adventures. It's literally saying, like, what you do on this plane can literally create the dungeon on the next plane, or can modify the dungeon on the next plane. I love that. Alright, Carcerai. Probably my favorite multi-dimensional plane, outside of, like, Sigil itself and some of the Outlands. Carcerai is badass. Carcerai, the grim inspiration for all other prisons in existence. Carcerai is a plane of desolation and despair. Its 6 layers hold vast bogs, fetid jungles, windswept deserts, jagged mountains, frigid oceans, and black ice. All form a miserable home for the traitors and backstabbers trapped on the prison plane. The layers of Carcerai. Orthris. Orthris? Orthris. The river Styx meanders through a layer of vast bogs and quicksand. Cathris. The stench of decay hangs over fetid jungles and scarlet plains. Minethys. Stinging sand blows in unending storms, hiding the ruins of the ancient city Peirathion. Colothis. Deep chasms cut between cruel mountains make foot travel nearly impossible. Porphatus? Porphatus. Cold acidic oceans are fed by constant black snow. Anagathis. Black ice streaked with red covers this frigid realm. Black ice streaked with red. Dope. Alright, let's look at this picture. What do we got here? Whoa! There it is. There's a black ice streaked with red. Unknown horrors are entrapped in the ice of Carcerai. Whoa. Prison plane. No one can leave Carcerai easily. Magical efforts to leave the plane by any spell other than wish simply fail. Portals and gates that open to the other plane become one way only. Secret passages out of the plane exist, but they are hidden and well guarded by traps and deadly monsters. And through the river Styx flows between Carcerai and its neighbors, the passage is extremely dangerous, and ferries leading out of Carcerai are both rare and expensive. I mean, this is giving you a dungeon by itself. I've done a couple dungeons now in Carcerai where it is obviously difficult to leave. The exits are well guarded, easy to enter, and Carcerai has or at least I put, like, an aura of paranoia. And what are the two fears called when you're afraid of claustrophobia? And then what is fear of open spaces? Because both are applicable in Carcerai. What's fear of open spaces? Help me out. Claustrophobia and then agoraphobia. That's correct. So there's like there's different plane effects that you could do in Carcerai that make you like distrustful of your fellow party members. You want to be in a prison outside of their influence, or you're terrified of the prison itself and you want to leave it. All these things can happen to you in Carcerai. Carcerai Adventures. Carcerai is a sunless plain of despair, of passions and poisons, and of realm-shattering betrayals. Hatreds run like a deep, slow-moving river, and there's no telling what the flood of treachery will consume next. It is said that prisoners can escape Carcerai only by becoming stronger than whatever force imprisoned them there. But that's a difficult task on a plane whose very nature breeds despair and betrayal. The same tendency towards betrayal prevents those who are imprisoned here from working together for long towards the common goal of escape. Adventurers on Carcerai might explore the forces, spiritual and psychological as well as physical and outright demonic, that keep characters trapped or imprisoned there. Characters might help a prisoner escape, from an unjustly held spirit to some primeval god banished to oblivion here. Look at that. Yeah, man. Yeah. Then we get to demi-planes. Whoa! Okay. We are not even close to being done with cosmology here. I'm taking my time, guys. I don't want to rush this. I'm having too much fun. Demi-planes are extra-dimensional spaces that come into being by a variety of means and boast their own physical laws. Do you guys need a better zoom? I think it's a pretty good zoom. Some are created by spells, others are natural folds of reality pinched off from the rest of the multiverse. Theoretically, a plane shift spell can carry travelers to a demi-plane, but the proper frequency required for the tuning fork can be extremely hard to acquire. The gate spells are more reliable, assuming the caster knows of the demi-plane. A demi-plane can be as small as a single chamber or large enough to contain an entire realm. For example, a Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion spell creates a demi-plane consisting of a foyer with multiple adjoining rooms, while the land of Barovia exists entirely within a demi-plane under the sway of its vampire lord, Strahd von Zarovich. When a demi-plane is connected to the material plane or some other plane, entering the demi-plane can be as simple as moving through a portal or passing through a wall of mist. It is interesting that there is a Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion inside of a demi-plane known as Barovia. I don't think that's an accident. Demi-plane adventures. Demi-planes are limited realities shaped according to the will of whoever created them. Adventurers in demi-planes might let characters explore how they would shape reality to suit their desires and ideals, or confront distortions of reality crafted by villains. The elemental plane of air. Whoa. Whoa. Aarakocra scouts return home to a city on the plane of air. The plane of air is home to constant winds of varying strength. Here and there chunks of earth drift into the openness, many covered with lush vegetation. These earth motes serve as homes for Jinn and other natives of the plane. Other creatures live on cloud banks infused with magic to become solid surfaces, supporting towns and castles. Drifting clouds can obscure visibility in any direction in the plane. Storms are frequent, ranging from strong thunderstorms to fierce tornadoes or mighty hurricanes. The air is mild, except near the para-elemental planes at either end of the plane, where the temperature is more extreme. Rain and snow fall only in the part of the plane nearest to the para-elemental plane of ice. Although few landmarks distinguish one area of the plane of air from any other, the following are notable features of the plane. Akka. Or Aqua. Probably Akka. Here and there are hidden realms reachable only by following a particular sequence of flowing winds. Fabled Akka is one such realm, a shining domain of silver spires and verdant gardens atop a fertile earth moat. The wind dupes of Akka are dedicated to law and good, and they maintain a vigilant watch against the depredations of elemental evil. They are served by Aarakocra. Akka is a pretty important part of, what do you call it, of the Tomb of Annihilation. The Wind Dukes of Akka make an appearance in some fashion. Labyrinth winds. Much of the plane of air is a complex web of airstreams, currents, and winds called the labyrinth winds. These range from stiff breezes to howling gales that can rip a creature apart. Even the most skilled flying creatures must navigate these currents carefully, flying with the winds, not against them. Mistral Reach. Located near their para-elemental plane of ice, the Mistral Reach is a region of frigid winds and driving snowstorms. Earth motes in the Reach are covered with snow and ice. Sirocco Straits. The Sirocco Straits is the region of the plane nearest to the para-elemental plane of ash, where hot, dry winds scour earth motes into barren chunks of rock. Cool! Plane of air adventures. The essential nature of air is movement, animation, and inspiration. Air is the breath of life, the winds of change, the fresh breeze that clears away the fog of ignorance and the stuffiness of old ideas. When turned towards wicked ideals by cultists of elemental evil, elemental air represents destructive power turned to vengeful ends. Cultists of evil air wield howling storms to forcefully express their personal freedom, or lay claim to things they feel they have been wrongfully denied. Elemental Plane of Earth. The plane of Earth is a chain of mountains rising higher than any mountain range in the material plane. It has no sun of its own, and no air surrounds the peak of its highest mountains. Most visitors to the plane arrive by way of vast caverns that honeycomb the mountains. Important features of the plane of Earth include the following. City of Jewels. The plane's largest cavern, called the Great Dismal Delve, or the Seven Folk Mazework, is the home to the City of Jewels, the capital city of the Tao. The Tao take great pride in the wealth and sends teams across the plain in search of new veins of ore and gemstones. Thanks to these expeditions, every building and significant object in the city is made from precious stones and metals, including the slender gemstone inlaid spires at topmost buildings. The city is protected by a powerful spell that alerts the entire population if a visitor steals even a single stone. Damn! Okay. Alright. Furnaces. The furnaces are the mountains nearest the para-elemental plane of magma. Lava seeps through their caverns, and the air reeks of sulfur. The Tao have great forges and smelting furnaces here to process ores and shape precious metals. Mud Hills. The Mud Hills abut. Is that a word? Is that a spelling error? Abut. Touch or lean on. It is a word. The Mud Hills abut the swampy para-elemental plane of ooze. Landslides swear away the slopes of the hills, sending cascades of earth and stone to the bottom of the swamp. The plane of earth constantly regenerates the land, pushing new hills up as the old ones erode to nothing. Plane of earth adventurers. Earth symbolizes stability, rigidity, stern resolve, and tradition. The plane's position opposite the plane of air in the ring of elemental planes reflects its opposition to almost everything air represents. Elemental evil views Earth instead as an implacable force of destruction, perfectly willing to crush venerable institutions and respected traditions in its advance. Cultists of evil Earth crave the power to destroy the work of civilization, with landslides, sinkholes, or mighty earthquakes, and they believe the Earth thirsts for the blood of those who don't venerate it properly. I should take a moment now to say, there's a game called, I think I've talked about this before, the Temple of Elemental Evil. It is a good game. It's not done, but the first few adventures to it are really well done, because it's basically a whole bunch of factions of elemental evil cultists of different elements vying for domination inside this old temple. It's pretty rad. So they go through this. The elemental plane of fire. A blazing sun hangs at the zenith of the golden sky above the plane of fire, waxing and waning in a 24-hour cycle. It ranges from white hot at noon to deep red at midnight, so the darkest hour of the plane display a deep red twilight. At noon, the light is intense. Most business in the city of Brass takes place during the darker hours. I love the city of Brass. The weather on the plane is marked by fierce winds and thick ash. Although the air is breathable, creatures not native to the plane must cover their mouths and eyes to avoid stinging cinders. The Ifrit use magic to keep the cinder storms away from the city of Brass, but elsewhere in the plane, the wind always blows, sometimes rising to hurricane force during the worst storms. The heat on the plane of fire is comparable to a hot desert in the material plane and poses a similar threat to travelers. Sources of water are rare, so travelers must carry their own supplies or produce water by magic. You can even have it so hot that it just burns them every turn unless they have fire resistance. In that case, I would say fire resistance just mitigates the damage or completely negates the damage. That way it's something you really should get before you visit the plane of fire. Or it could just be a constant environmental deadly effect that they have to find cover from the heat in different places. Cinder wastes. The plane of fire is dominated by a great expanse of black cinders and embers crossed by rivers of lava. Roving bands of salamanders battle each other, raid Azer outposts, and avoid patrols from the city of Brass. Obsidian ruins dot the desert, remnants of forgotten civilizations. The city of Brass. Perhaps the best known location in the inner plains is the city of Brass, which stands on the shores of the Sea of Fire. This is the fabled city of the Ifrit, with ornate spires and spike walls reflect the Ifrit's grandiose and cruel nature. True to the nature of Plane of Fire, everything in the city seems alive with dancing flames, reflecting the vibrant energy of the place. The heart of the city is a formidable charcoal palace, where the tyrannical emperor of the Freet reigns supreme, surrounded by nobles and a host of servants, guardians, and sycophants. Sea of Fire. Lava flows through the fountains of creation towards the para-elemental plane of ash, and pools into a great expanse of lava called the Sea of Fire, traversed by Afriti and Aesir sailors and great brass ships. Islands of obsidian and basalt jut up from the sea, dotted with ancient ruins and layers of powerful red dragons. Torches. What? This is so new. What? Built atop a tall basalt crag in the middle of this lava river is an iron-walled tavern that is most easily reached by hot air balloon. The proprietor is a sentient, flame-tongued mace named Torchy, who sells a fine ale and seems to have a new wielder every few months. Torchy's is a popular hangout for ballooning enthusiasts. Great. Plane of Fire adventurers. Fire represents vibrancy, passion, and change. At its best, fire reflects the light of inspiration, the warmth of compassion, and the flame of desire. The cults of elemental evil represent the fire at its worst, cruel and wantonly destructive. Cultists of evil fire seek the power to burn away the impurities of the world with volcanic eruptions, uncontrolled wildfires, heat waves, and droughts, transforming the material plane to a mirror of the cinder wastes. Adventurers frequently come to the City of Brass on quests for legendary magic. If it's possible to buy magic items in your campaign, the City of Brass is most likely the place to find any item for sale. That's a good note. That's a good note. It's also a great place for adventure. You can have dungeons around your merchants. The Ifrit are fond of trading in favors, especially when they have the upper hand in negotiations. Perhaps a magical contagion or poison can be cured only with something that must be purchased in the markets of the city. And here we go! The City of Brass is a hub for trade from across the multiverse. Whoa. Everything is on fire. Everything is fine. Everything's fine. The elemental plane of water. We'll do the elemental plane of water and then we will stop for the night. And then I guess we'll have a part 3 and a part 4. Jeez. I got through a good bit. Yeah, but there's probably going to be a part 3 and a part 4, which I'm totally fine with. The elemental plane of water. Plane of water. Fanfic is leaking. The plane of water is an endless sea called the Sea of Worlds, dotted with atolls and islands that rise up from enormous coral reefs that seem to stretch forever into the depths. The storms that move across the sea sometimes create temporal portals to the material plane and draw ships into the plane of water. Surviving vessels from countless worlds and navies ply these waters with little hope of ever returning home. A warm sun arcs across the sky of the plane of water, seeming to rise and set from within the water the horizon. Several times a day, the sky clouds over and releases a deluge of rain, often accompanied by spectacular shows of lightning before clearing up again. At night, a glittering array of stars and auroras bedecks the sky. The weather in the plane is a lesson in extremes. If the sea isn't calm, it's battered by storms. On rare occasions, a tremor in the planar firmament sends a rogue wave sweeping across the plane, swamping entire islands and driving ships down into the reefs. Any land that rises above the first surface of the sea is hotly contested by the few air breathers that live on the plain. Fleets of rafts and ships lashed together serve as solid ground, where nothing else is available, although most natives of the plain never break the surface of the sea and thus ignore these habitations. I mean, look, guys, Waterworld is pretty contested. I think it's a great movie. I think it's a fantastic movie. I think they hit the vibe pretty hard with it. I know people have their problems with it, but like, and I know that there were shooting problems all over the place with that movie, but I enjoyed the hell out of it, and that's clearly the inspiration here. Like, it is a world of water. The Citadel of 10,000 Pearls. The nominal emperor of the Marids dwells in the Citadel of 10,000 Pearls, an opulent palace made of coral and studded with pearls. The palace is a glittering centerpiece of the Sea of Light. Visitors are welcome to ask favors of the Emperor whose mood is as changeable as the sea. The darkened depths, the deeper extents of the plane where no sunlight reaches, are called the darkened depths. Horrid creatures dwell here, and the absolute cold and crushing pressure means a swift end to creatures accustomed to the surface or the sea of light. Krakens and other mighty leviathans claim this realm. Isle of Dread. Wait, Isle of Dread? One of the few islands on the plane is the Isle of Dread, which is a campaign module, which is connected to the material plane by means of a storm that regularly sweeps over the island. Ships from different worlds of the material plane end up wrecked on the rocks and reefs around the island, and settlements across the island are populated by descendants of sailors who never found a way home. Theoretically, travelers who understand the workings of the storm could use it as a way to travel to a desired material plane world. The Isle of Dread is a pretty famous adventure module from, I think, Expert D&D. It's basically a dinosaur island. Sea of Ice. Bordering the para-elemental plane of ice is a sea of ice. The frigid water is choked with icebergs and sheet ice, which are inhabited by cold-loving creatures from the plane of ice. Drifting icebergs can carry these creatures farther into the plane of water to threaten ships and islands in warmer seas. Sea of Light. Life flourishes in the sunlit waters of the Sea of Life, located in the upper reaches of the Sea of Worlds. Aquatic peoples craft castles and fortresses in the coral reefs here. Silt Flats. The region of plane of water nearest to the para-elemental plane of ooze is called the Silt Flats. The water is thick with soil and sludge, turning into muddy ground before giving way to the great swamp that is the para-elemental plane. Plane of water adventurers. The nature of water is to flow, not like the gusting wind or the leaping flame, but smoothly and steadily. It is the rhythm of the tide, the nectar of life, the bitter tears of mourning, and the balm of sympathy and healing. Given time, it can erode all in its path. Elemental evil emphasizes the erosive power of water, as well as the destruction wrought by surging tides, deadly maelstroms, and raging torrents. Cultists of evil water believe the seas and deep waters are eager to reclaim the water trapped in the bodies of living creatures. Whoa, whoa. And think it's their duty to return others to the primal waters by drowning them or shedding their blood. Yeah. Yeah. The most evil, like, cultist of evil water, I would say, would be, like, the Iron Folk in the Game of Thrones books. If anybody's read those, they are real bad. They're raiders and pillagers who basically drown everyone they meet. It's like a religious ritual thing, but they drown everyone who they don't kill outright. It's pretty rough. They also attach chains to like a whole bunch of people and just kind of push them off and let the chain do the work. Pretty evil. So there we go. We will stop there. We'll take it up with Elysium on part 3 of the Cosmology Chapter 6 in the DMG next time we reconvene, which will be in July. We're gonna finish the DMG by the end of this year, hopefully. Hopefully. Thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate it. Next up we got. Second. Next up will be Tomb of Annihilation on the. Well, no. Next up is Azure Sky tomorrow. Tomorrow at 10 p.m. or 8 p.m. rather will be Azure Sky. Come watch this 8 p.m. PT as the crew makes their way through the Wellspring Eternal. If you know what that is, you know what it is. If you know, you know. All right, everybody. I will see you around. Peace out. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.